Today, Nolly Elementary would like to recognize all of our January Leaders of the Month. We are so proud of these students and their outstanding leadership in the classroom, on the playground, in the lunchroom, and also always displaying the 7 habits at Nolly School. Today, I will recognize each student in each grade and tell you a little something about them. Okay, starting off in kindergarten in Mrs. Craig's class, we have Kennedy Snell. Kennedy is proactive, puts first, thinks win-win, seeks first to understand, synergizes, and also sharpens the saw. Mrs. Craig said Kennedy is a gem. She's very focused and driven to get her work done and to be responsible. Her quiet, focused way sets a superb example in class for her peers. Mrs. Craig said, I am blessed to have another Snell in my class. In Mrs. Parton's room, we have Lily Dowdy, who is proactive. Mrs. Parton said, Lily has been a hard worker since day one of kindergarten. She always does her best. At times, she would get behind because she was so careful. We made it a goal for her to work at a good pace, and Lily has made her goal of getting her work done neat and on time. Way to go, Lily. In Mrs. Rankin's room, we have Jaylee O'Bleen. She puts first things first. Jaylee always makes sure to get her work done before she does anything else. If she misses a day of school, she makes sure to make it up. Jaylee is also a great helper in the classroom and with her classmates. Keep it up, Jaylee. And in Mrs. Zukowski's room, we have Cameron Cash, who is proactive and synergizes. Cameron is a great synergizer. She works together with her peers to build great structures, clean up messes, and complete group work. Cameron also proactively finishes work and is always helpful to her teacher. Keep being a leader, Cam. Okay, moving on to first grade in Mrs. Beard's room, we have Lydia Coyle, who is proactive, begins with the end in mind, and puts first things first. Lydia comes to class each day ready to learn. She works hard to follow directions, participates often, and always tries her best. This especially shows in her reading. I am so proud of you. Keep it up, Lydia. In Mrs. Bowser's room, we have Luca Neidert, who puts first things first. Luca sets a good example for his classmates to follow. He completes his assignments independently, puts forth his best effort, and listens attentively. Way to go, Luca. In Mrs. Fiesler's room, we have Warren Kenley, who seeks first to understand. Warren is someone who excels at listening, which can be difficult at this age. He values being listened to, and this is one of the incredible ways he leads in our classroom. Keep up the amazing work, Warren. In Mrs. Rector's room, we have Daisy Freeman, who is proactive and puts first things first. Daisy has worked hard to improve her handwriting and reading fluency this year. She's putting forth the extra effort and takes pride in her work. Super job, Daisy. Okay, in second grade, our first student is in Mrs. Grandin's room, and it is Maxim Mahalovic, who is proactive. Maxim makes proactive choices daily in room 115. Mrs. Grandin said, I can count on him to be honest and take full responsibility for his actions. Maxim has a good heart and so much character. Way to go, Maxim. In Mrs. Slimac's room, we have Reagan Mydock, who thinks win-win. Reagan is a perfect example of a student who thinks win-win. She has a positive attitude and is always willing to lend a helping hand. Keep up your hard work, Reagan. In Mrs. Truax's class, we have Noah Backer, who seeks first to understand and synergizes. Noah is a fantastic example of what a leader looks like in second grade. He encourages others to be their best. He works well in groups. He's humble, and he listens to others without interrupting. He is always planning ahead and setting goals, and always staying organized. Keep up the hard work, Noah. And in Mrs. Van Dorsen's room, we have Brennan Stanek, who puts first things first. Brennan stays on task and gets what he needs done in a timely manner. Mrs. Van Dorsen said, I'm very proud of how hard he tries to stay focused when it is hard to sit still. Way to go, Brennan. Okay, moving on to third grade, our first student is in Mrs. Esterly's room, and it is Jediah Caulfield, who puts first things first. Jediah comes to school every day with a growth mindset. He begins his day working hard and stays consistent throughout the day. Keep up the good work, Jediah. You are an awesome third grader. In Mr. Straub's room, we have Nate Salter, who is proactive. Mr. Straub said, since starting at Nolly this school year, Nate has really shown he has a great attitude towards learning. He is very responsible in returning his homework on time. If he misses work, he actively seeks out to get it and complete it. If he has trouble seeing the smartboard, he will move to a different seat without being told or asking. He gets the job done. Keep up the great attitude and effort, Nate. In Mrs. Braley's room, we have Kenley Hughes. Kenley, day in and day out, gives her best. She is an active participant, respectful to others, and has a positive attitude towards learning. I am so proud of Kenley for all of her hard work in third grade. Keep being a leader, Kenley. In Mrs. Stasnas's room, we have Zane Mauger, who is proactive and sharpens the saw. Zane was a pro at third grade from day one. He loves a challenge and responsibility. He even helps out a second grade student. However, he also loves to play and have fun with his friends. Zane knows that balance is best. Way to go, Zane. And from Mrs. Melville, we have Gracie Hughes. Gracie sharpens the saw. Mrs. Melville said Gracie goes out of her way to sharpen the saw with others with her cheery attitude, polite manners, and positive attitude towards learning to read. Way to go, Gracie. Okay, moving on to fourth grade. Our first student was nominated by Mrs. Melville, and it is Jude Grimes, who seeks first to understand. Mrs. Melville said Jude is a new student to our school. He tries hard to seek first to understand the rules and culture of Nolly with a smile and politeness. We are so glad you are here, Jude. Keep being a leader. In Mrs. Gardner's room, we have Claire Hoskinson, who is proactive. Claire has really been working hard in fourth grade. She is very proactive and responsible when it comes to her classwork and assignments. You will often see Claire helping others wherever she goes. Thank you, Claire, for being a leader in room 120. In Mrs. Matson's room, we have Finn Murphy, who demonstrates all of the 7 habits. Mrs. Matson said, I am recognizing Finn Murphy for all habits. Finn is a top-notch kiddo. He works hard to follow the rules and does well in all of his classes. He is kind and a good partner to all. Keep working hard, Finn. In Mrs. Oakes' room, we have Wyatt Schreiner, who puts first things first. Wyatt spends his time on things that are most important, but when his work is done, he always is ready to help his teachers. He often offers to help before I can even ask. His lead day teacher mentioned to me that he did a great job helping the younger students with their craft projects. We are proud of this kind and caring leader. Way to go, Wyatt. And from Mrs. Toth's class, we have Reagan Graham. Mrs. Toth said Reagan is such a positive leader in our class. She is proactive as she plans ahead for each class and puts first things first until she accomplishes everything. Thank you, Reagan, for helping your classmates and your teacher too. Keep being a leader. Congratulations to all of the Nolly Leaders of the Month. The entire staff here at Nolly is so proud of you. Please keep up the great work and your outstanding leadership. Way to go!